Sitting before you are people who are either presidents or chief executive officers or owners of their own company. These are our civil engineering honorees. They will be honored tonight at a banquet in the North Ballroom. And we hope at 10:30 this morning, some of you will come over to the Wood Commons and interact with them on a one-on-one. So what we're going to do this morning is I'm going to introduce each one of them to you. And then I'm going to ask them to tell you what their career track was like and how they did what they did to achieve what they have achieved. Our Civil Engineering Alumni Achievement Awards was started back in 1993. It's a faculty award. We go out and we find the people who have excelled in the practice of civil engineering, and we bring them here, we honor them, and that's what we're doing today. So, let me begin this morning. Let me begin. Mark Bernhardt. There's Mark on the end. Mark is a PE, BSCE here, 1991. President and CEO of Burgess and Nipple.
Nipple.
What is that?
Nipple.
Nipple.
Nobody ever gets that wrong.
Is that right?
One thing, not two.
Okay.
That's okay.
Burgess and Nipple. There you go.
It's a common mistake.
Columbus, Ohio. Okay, we'll come back in a second. Carol Drucker. Carol is a PE and an SC. Okay. 1985 BSCE. Principal and owner of Drucker Zadel Structural Engineers out of Chicago. Okay. Chris Gale. Chris Gale. PE, BSCE 1995, HNTB Incorporated. He's a Great Lakes Division President out of Indianapolis. Jim Soltesz, PE, BSCE 1976, President and CEO of Soltesz Incorporated, Rockville, Maryland. And Robert Scaer, he's a PE, BSCE 1982, Chairman of the Board and CEO at Gannett Fleming out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. All right, so always interested in correlations between some factors and success. One of the things I noticed in all of this, maybe to start this off a little bit facetiously, is that every one of these folks are Boilermakers, so am I, and so are you. So that says you're bound for success, because we're all Boilermakers. All right, now, secondly, what other factors? Every one of these people up here are PEs and or SEs, Structural Engineering Licensed Engineers. That tells you something. So that is something that you should think about in terms of your career track success. Question always arises, well, Bob, should I bother doing, getting going, taking the FE exam and getting registered in time, getting licensed? And I think by looking at the people in front of you here, I would say to you, it's a darn good start to get your licensure underway for a career track success. Okay, so with that, let me begin with Mark. Mark, tell us a little bit about your firm and how you managed to do what you do. You are now president and CEO.
All right. First off, thanks for giving us the opportunity to come today. Always appreciate the opportunity to talk to students and share some of my experience and also learn from them along the way as what's being taught in schools and how folks are getting prepared for the workplace. I will say you are now, I think, preparing to come out into the workforce in a time that's been one of the best times in the world to be a civil engineer. There's never been as much focus, I think, on infrastructure in the United States as there is now. I think I think all five of us would say that hiring and finding talented people is one of the biggest challenges we face right now. So certainly, you're coming out. You're going to be coming out at a really good time. Our firm, Burgess & Nipple, we are a multidisciplinary firm. We're 111 years old. We were formed by a couple of guys back in 1912, originally to do water and wastewater work, and we've since, over the years, evolved into transportation, environmental, architecture, survey, roads, bridges, a little bit of everything. I think one of the other things often students are curious about is, do I have to specialize in something, just focus on structures or just focus on bridges, or can I be more of a generalist? And I would say, certainly with our firm, and I'm sure it's not different at Gannett Fleming or HNTB, in certain offices that may serve just municipal clients, we have civil engineers who are very much generalists, and they do a little bit of everything. They'll be doing drainage one day, or they'll do a water line the next day, and they'll do a bike trail or a road the next day, so a little bit of everything. Other offices, they may just be doing big bridge transportation work all the time too, so there's a lot of different ways to go. But our firm, I started out as a structural engineer, got a structural degree from Purdue, and when I was a student, I listened to a presentation like this by someone, and I went up and talked to him afterwards, and I ended up getting a job with that company as an internship in Chicago. The company's name was Wisjani Elsner, and they did forensic engineering and building collapses. It's not anything I ever really thought about before. I'd always thought of myself as someone who would go out and design new things, but when I learned that there was actually engineers who went out and kind of played detective to look at the pieces that were laying there on the ground and try to figure out, why did this fall down, what caused it, and of course the lawyers always want to know whose fault it was and who should pay for it, but ultimately kind of deconstructing and reconstructing when things went wrong and then fixing them. So I kind of started my career in this forensic engineering world, and then evolved over time, and I've always been involved when I was still doing engineering work and not management in fixing old structures. I spent a large part of my career fixing old bridges. My favorite project, I had a chance to work on the Brooklyn Bridge once many years ago, and as a bridge engineer, to go in New York City and work on the Brooklyn Bridge, that's up near the top of my lifelong things I'll always look back on. I haven't had a chance to work on the Golden Gate Bridge yet, and maybe that ship sailed, but maybe someday I can walk in Charles Ellis's shoes.
Well, the Boilermaker's already been there, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
But I think just to kind of wrap it up, I guess the one thing I would share was, you're going to need to be a lifelong learner. I think what engineering looks like today, it's going to look totally different even just a few years from now. We in the workplace are seeing technology evolve so rapidly, it's hard for us to keep up with it out in the marketplace, and all of our engineers are just constantly learning new ways and adapting as technology just permeates everything we do, and we're all trying to keep up with it. But if you're a lifelong learner and you're curious and you evolve along with it, I'm sure you'll all be very successful.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Okay, Chris Gale, HNTB.
Yeah, HNTB has been around almost the same amount of time as Burgess and Nipel. 1914 is when they were started.
We got you by 2 years.
I got us by 2 years. Yes.
There's no competition here.
We have a few more. We have a few more people than Burgess and Nipel. We have a little over 5,000 across the U.S. An infrastructure-focused firm. We do some sports architecture work that's a little bit out of our maybe the transportation realm, with things like the Vegas, the Raiders Stadium, and some things like that. We've worked on Ross-Ade Stadium. We've worked on Mackey Arena. Done a variety of things, but primarily transportation focused. And Mark's right. If you're willing to say yes and try things, to be curious, as Mark put it, you have a great opportunity to excel, especially in this market, because the opportunities are endless right now. We just had a conversation. As firms, there's not enough talent coming out of the schools for us to even be hiring right now, just because of the way the market is happening with the money that's been flowing in to the market around infrastructure. I'd love to be speaking to a room that's twice as big with seniors in terms of the talent that we're wanting to hire. It sounds like 86% of the students in the civil engineering are part of interns and intern and co-op programs, which is fantastic. Get that opportunity to get out there and understand and learn better in terms of what you may be interested in. Whether you want to go the generalist route, whether you want to be a structural engineer, want to go water or wastewater, whatever it may be, having an opportunity to do an intern or a co-op is critical, not critical, I won't say that, but very helpful in terms of understanding what you want to do as you move forward. But if you haven't had that, since you're in senior design, you still have a wonderful opportunity to kind of pick what you want to do as you come out of school. For me, I've been with HNTB for 27 years. I worked with the state of Indiana just for a year before that, graduated from Purdue in 1995, and started off in water wastewater treatment design, primarily here in Indiana. Started doing projects across the U.S., and as my careers evolved, I wanted to be in sales and project management, and once you get to the level we're at, you end up managing people and dealing with more HR issues than you'll ever learn about here at Purdue. And so your career changes, but it's been a great opportunity for me just to see the evolution of the engineering industry. And as Mark mentioned, technology and things changing, that's the disruptions of our world are going to continue to get more complex, especially as we think about transportation and communication and connected vehicles and just the automation of so many things. Being willing to say yes and try new things and to be open to stepping out of your comfort zone is going to suit you very well as you move into your career.
All right. And Robert, you're chairman of the board and CEO at Gannett Fleming out of Harrisburg.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Gannett Fleming is about a 3,000 person firm. We have 65 offices in the United States, a couple international offices. And I guess I've had a very interesting career journey, maybe a little bit different than a typical CEO. I thought I'd just quickly run through it because there's some lessons in there for everybody. I'll start off with this. I hope you realize the kind of education you're getting at Purdue. I sit there in a company, like I said, 3,000 people, and Boilermakers that are in our company stand out very quickly, and they move very well. So you are getting an amazing education. So I hope you recognize that. So I've been with this company for 40 years, and I was lucky to come to this company. By the way, Gannett Fleming is 2015. I thought I was going to say I was the oldest one up here. Turns out I'm the third oldest engineering firm up here. By the way, there's only a handful of engineering firms under the same name that are as old as we are. We're 108, 10 and 11 or whatever.
Yeah. 106 years I have right here.
106 years, yeah. Anyhow, so when I started Gannett Fleming, one of the first things that happened to me is I got a really good mentor, and this mentor's name was Ron Drunovich. And you might know the name Vince Drunovich. I know Vince Drunovich. That was his brother. Anyway, very helpful. When in your professional career, getting a good mentor is important. You need help to get and succeed. I stepped in as a structural engineer and designed bridges and buildings and all those kinds of things. We had a little bit of a slow work. And they gave me this assignment to design catenaries. Have you ever seen a transit train, and you have the wire, the catenary that runs over the train, or over the rail that gets electricity? I think you all know what I'm talking about here. Well, you have to hang that wire exactly in the right spot. And they gave me a job of 20 miles of track, and at every pole I had to design the geometry based on everything. And all the hanger lengths and all that. They gave me a stack, and they said it'll be about this thick stack of calculations. I just, using my Purdue, that critical thinking, you have PCs. We didn't have PCs. We had a mainframe computer. I had a programmable 41 CV. You guys probably remember the 41 CV. And I had that when I was in school. And I programmed on my calculator the ability to run through the calculator. And so instead of spending 2 months on that project and a stack of calcs like this, I did it in a couple of weeks using my calculator. And it was resisted, but the word got around. And my point to you is this. You've heard it. Well, things are changing. Think differently. How can you add value to the process as you go through? Doing something different. I used that calculator. It got visibility, and the CEO called me up and said, hey, we got this thing called CAD. Now, you guys think of that as a tool you do, every day, but back then it cost $1 million. The one terminal that we had cost more than the house my parents lived in. And how do we use this? It's going to replace all these draftsmen. They asked if I would take that on. And I thought, this isn't the traditional approach. I had my PE. Should I really do this? And I took that assignment and then spent about 4 years building the entire CAD operation for the firm, but it exposed me to so much. So taking a risk really helped me. And then I got restless. I got my MBA from Penn State. And no sooner I got that, the CEO of the firm came to me and says, you know engineering, you know technology, you now know business with the MBA. We have a company that's failing. It's only 4 people. It's losing a lot of money. We're going to throw it away. Do you want to run this company? And he made it clear, if I took this assignment and it failed, then I'm done. And I decided to take it, and I had a blast building a company to over 160 people over the next 6 years. It was GISIT, which you call geoinformatics, I think is what you teach right now.
Geomatics, yeah.
Yeah. And that got me into running the IT division of the firm, which got me on the board of the directors, which got me to be the president of the firm and my current role as CEO. So it's being innovative, delivering value, being able to take risks, having a mentor, using this amazing education you have here to make a difference. Your companies are not going to know what to do with the changes that are going to come to them from AI and robotics and how that all interacts with the construction industry. So we need our Purdue grads to lead our companies into the future. That's my advice.
Thank you, Rob. So now, Carol, you made the big leap. You're an owner, right? You own the place. If it goes down, you go down. Right? I don't mean to stress you this morning. So tell us about this, a wonderful trip you've made, apparently,
Okay.
to Oregon.
It seemed like this yesterday. I was sitting on the other side. And if you would have asked me, I don't know, 30 years ago, if I'd be here, I would probably have said no. Because it wasn't my intent. It really wasn't my intent. But to me, the secret is, honestly, if I had to sum it up in one word, it's passion. If you find your passion, you will excel. When I came out of school, I knew I wanted to do structural engineering. I fell in love with high rises. I knew I was going to move from a small town in Kentucky to the biggest possible city I could find. I knew that at a very young age. And in a minute I saw Chicago, I'm like, okay, Sears Tower, I'm there. So I made my way. I knew it very young. And I was a practicing structural engineer working at a big firm. I worked at SOM. That's where I started my career, working with architects, and I liked it. I wouldn't say I excelled, but I enjoyed what I was doing. And then what happened was, to be honest with you, I had a set of twins, and I was forced to stay at home on maternity leave. It was out of control. My home life was like totally chaos. And so I was forced to take some time off of work. And at that point in time, I had a contractor call me that I had worked with on a project. And he said, I really like working with you. Would you mind doing work for me while you're at home? And I'm like, have you ever raised children? It's like, no. But slowly.
That's a job.
It was 3 children under the age of 2. I didn't know which way was up.
Wow.
But eventually, as things started to calm down, I'm like, he was very persistent. He kept calling. Like, he checked in with me monthly. There was must have been a huge shortage of engineers, as there is now. So eventually, I caved, and I started doing it. And as it turned out, I absolutely loved that type of work. It was normally I was working with architects, designing high-rises, which I did like, but this was now on the other side, helping the contractor figuring out how to build it, solving construction issues. And it was something new and different, and I just loved it. And then when my maternity leave was up, my employer asked, "Are you coming back?" And it's like, I don't think so. I think I'm gonna give this a shot. And the next thing you knew, I had my own firm, and the next thing you knew, I was merging with other firms, and here I am today, and we do work worldwide. And I'm still, although we still do general engineering, structural engineering, like I myself specialize in that same, more in the construction engineering to this day. I'm still highly specialized. And if you want to really stand out and excel, once you find your passion, to really stand out, you have to talk about it. Like I came back to Purdue last year to talk about it. I tried to go to all the conferences to talk about it. Not only because I love to talk, maybe I just like to talk, but I love to talk about my passion, and it really shows.
Well, Carol, your expertise is connections, right?
Right.
What was your most difficult or challenging connection that you had to design?
Well, every project has its own uniqueness, and there's not a job that goes by where there's not a unique challenge, and you're absolutely right. You need to know how to solve a problem, and that is part of a learning curve. It becomes a lot easier once you have the expertise to solve the problem, I'll tell you that. Pulling on past experience. But to solve the problems, like I found kind of the secret is to stay current, like read research papers, stay educated, because you had this huge amount of knowledge in the back of your head. When there's a problem, you'll be able to pull from that. So, and also enjoy solving the problem. That's also a big thing that I really, really love, the puzzle solving of problems. But my most challenging project, honestly, I don't know if you are familiar with Blue Cross Blue Shield in Chicago, Illinois. It was our biggest project. Like, our billables were like over $1 million on that project because there were so many problems that we were fortunate enough to solve. But probably that was the most challenging because it was new technology. You weren't wrong on that. It was the first time we get information from other engineers so we can do our work. It was the first time we had the information presented. It was in Excel. I'm a huge fan of Excel. I'm sure you guys are too. We're very Excel driven in our office. And it was like 30,000 lines of Excel code, and we were supposed to sort through it and find loading criteria. It was like, oh, how do we do this? And it was actually didn't even know how to do this. And we were hiring for summer interns, and I only asked one question: how good are your Excel skills? And if I interviewed any of you, I still ask that question. Like, it's my number one. Like, tell me what the last project you used in Excel. And one of the kids I was interviewing, he was an intern. I think he was still a junior in college. He just laughed at me. And he's like, "I'm very good." I'm like, "You're hired." And he came in and he wrote some like VBA macro to help us sort through all that coding. So that was probably my biggest challenge.
How about that? And Jim, you've been an owner, you've owned your own firm for many years, right?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So you're out of Rockville, Maryland. Tell us about yourself.
I'm going to stand up. First, I appreciate everybody getting up at 8:30. And I know I was just complaining. So when we went through this, God, it was 40-some years ago. It was 7:30 in the morning on Saturday, which, 8:30 on a Thursday is better. So
Yeah, Jim brought something up this morning at breakfast. I got to mention this, guys. This class used to meet on Saturday mornings at 7:30 as well, for years and years and years.
Mandatory attendance, too.
Jim said he still has the scar.
I do. So consider yourself lucky at 8:30 on a Thursday. So.
Oh, gosh.
I greatly appreciate everyone being here. So I own a civil engineering, land planning, surveying firm, 4 offices throughout the Washington area known as the Swamp, which gets too many headlines as it is, but we'll go beyond that. But let me just start out by saying that when you graduate from Purdue with this degree, there's one thing you should always know, and that's when you go into your careers, you should feel fully confident. There is not a better engineering school, there's not a better engineering degree than civil from Purdue. So when you get out, you get that, check that box, then you can go on to the other parts of business and life, which is huge. So we're a local firm, about 150 people, and we're a very diversified firm. Relationships is really what propels our business. And so we go anywhere. We've done trying to think of notable things, the Washington Monument Visitor Center. We're doing a light rail project throughout Maryland. Toll lane projects, we did the $1.6 billion MGM casino. So we get a lot of different things. We do a lot of water quality. Wherever someone needs help, we're glad to do it and get paid. So that's a good way to describe what we do. It's been a very interesting career for me. I left civil engineering for about 10 years and went into real estate development. Hit the infamous crash of 1990 and thought, you know what, engineering is a good place to go back to, which I did. And so I started the firm in 2000, and so we've been in business for 23 years, and it's been it's been fun. Lots of ups, lots of downs, business cycles, projects being pulled. We spent 6 years working on a $6 billion toll lane project, which governor pulled the funding, new governor. The old governor was my friend, the new governor came in, and so pulled the funding 2 weeks ago. So anyway, you learn to adjust, and that's life. And if you got the confidence, and you should, with your technical background, the rest of it you'll pick up. Relationships, understanding how you can make someone better, how you can get someone to do you a favor, how you can make someone excel. Give the credit away. That's not an issue. Just make sure you get to business. So it's been great. It's nice to come back here. Last night, let me just say this. Another thing, remember, I hosted a dinner with 16 former classmates, friends, fraternity brothers, came from California, Atlanta, locally, and so you're very blessed to be here. And I'm blessed to be here too.
Well, very
Thank
good.
you. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you, James. Okay, now it's your turn to ask some questions. You're on the cusp of graduating. In a heartbeat, you're going to be in the workforce. It's going to happen so quick, okay? It'll make your head spin. So, how about some questions for our experienced professional civil engineers here? Okay. Right here. Go ahead, stand up, tell us your name, what team you're on, and ask your question.
Hi, good morning to y'all. My name is Kyle. I'm on Team 3. My question is regarding kind of like mentorship, which was mentioned. I feel like as of the topics is the one that I was least comfortable kind of grasping it. I guess my question would be, if you were to be a senior graduating college, going into the workforce, how would you approach trying to get a mentor, or how would you look around for it?
So let me repeat the question, if I can do it. Kyle asked, he said, as I graduate, what's the best way for me to try to find a mentor? Is that right?
Yeah.
As you move into industry. What's the best way to go on a hunting expedition and find a good mentor? Carol, and then we'll go to...
It's a great question because we just interviewed someone and they asked us that question. I think the reason they were leaving their current position is because during COVID everyone's working remote and they were lacking that mentorship. And a lot of times when we're working remote too, so we have that same problem. So how you could point blank ask how they handle that situation. I'll tell you how we handle it in our office because we knew we had to address that. But we start every morning, I mean, you probably can't do this in a big firm, but we're not that big. We're also only 20 years old, so I just thought I'd throw that in the mix. But we start every morning. We all get on a call, short. It's called a stand-up. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Borrowed it from the IT industry. It's called a stand-up. It's very quick. And everybody talks what they did yesterday, what they're doing today, and what their blockers are. And it's the third one that I'm really focused on. Well, the first two, but it's the third one I really want to know, what the blockers. And that gives everybody an opportunity to say, I'm blocked and I need your time. And then that is dressed because we know they can't move forward until that blocker is removed. So you can just simply ask that question and ask the company's strategy for handling mentorship.
Okay, Mark.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm sure whatever company you end up going to work for, it'll likely have some kind of mentorship program. I think that's pretty common now. We have one that we call integration partners, where when we do an acquisition or we're doing hiring, we try to pair each person up with another person in the company that's been there for a while that has their same kind of job assignment. It might not be in the same office. It's not their supervisor. You're going to get a lot of mentorship from your supervisor. When you start in a job, one of your supervisor's duties and responsibilities is to mentor their new employees, but we also pair new employees up with other people that are of a similar age and in a similar technical background to teach. So I'm sure most companies have some kind of program. So it's super important that we want to develop our new hires as fast as we can and get them into production and, start making money with them as fast as we can. We're a business at the end of the day.
There you go. Yes, Chris, go ahead.
We have a mentorship program as well, and you find that matches people together as long as you share the interest that you want to mentor. However, I would challenge each of you to not just be focused on the company you work for, but look in the industry. Look at people that are doing something that you want to do in the future. They're already in a role, your futuristic role. And reach out and just say, would you mind being a mentor to me, for me to meet whether that's quarterly, monthly, whatever works for your schedules, but to pick their brain in terms of understanding of what they did to get where they are today. Because, as Mark said, you're going to get a lot of time with people that you work with, your supervisor or the person that sits next to you, whatever it may be. But if you reach, again, back to relationships, as I think Jim had said or others had said, building relationships with clients, that may be a great place to reach out to ask for a mentorship of some sort. I doubt they're going to say no. They want to help up-and-coming engineers as well.
Very good. Robert, yeah.
Yeah, we have a mentorship program as well, but I would, beyond that, I would say don't just come into your work and just focus on exactly what your task is or your team. You have a big company. Make sure pay attention to what's going on in the company. And for example, we created employee resource groups. You guys probably all have them too, like Connected Women or LGBTQ+. And they're their organizations within the company. Volunteer, raise your hand. Take on that leadership role. Help run something, help do something social in your company, get exposure. And by doing that, you're going to get to know a lot more people within that organization. And you're gonna hopefully find that person that's going to be that you feel comfortable with, that you could, that would be that good mentor, even beyond the mentorship program, that can help you in your career within that company or your professional development.
So, in essence, you're saying, don't stay and work in your own little day-type compartment.
Right.
Get out and meet people and identify somebody who you might think would be a good mentor and go after that person. Indeed. Indeed. Thank you for your question. Appreciate that. I think there was another hand somewhere. There we go. Okay. It's Joe Martin.
Yeah, I'm Joey Martin from Team 13. What has been your biggest motivation throughout your entire career?
Would you say that again? I didn't quite get it, Joe. What was that?
What's been your biggest motivation throughout your entire career?
Oh, the biggest motivation. Biggest motivation.
I think, passion and, finding something that aligns with your passion. I always centered stuff around safety, personally. Like, I wanted to use my engineering skills for good and not evil, so I looked at it. But I was a bridge inspector for many years, looking at old bridges. And so I had, obviously, my own family and that used bridges every day, and so I looked at it as I was ensuring that those bridges were safe. And I focused a lot of what I did around safety. I think civil engineers have a duty to design safe structures and create this world of safe water, clean water. I think that's one of the greatest, I think civil engineers benefit society. The work we do benefits society. So I'm very much driven by just creating a better place for my kids and grandkids now to occupy and live in. That's a great question.
Indeed. Question.
Yeah, for me, it's working with our clients. We're a consulting firm. We work with state agencies, local agencies, cities, municipalities, and it's being able to bring a team to solve their biggest, most complex problems. When a road's closed because a bridge is falling apart, or they're having permit violations on the wastewater treatment plant or water treatment plant or whatever it may be, knowing that we have a team back in the office that we can come and bring to that project and solve their biggest issues brings joy to me. I didn't always want to do the technical part and do the calculations. I enjoyed that early on, but then I just enjoyed knowing that we had people that are much smarter than me that I could bring and work on those projects. And they got joy out of doing the calculations, running the numbers, whatever it may be, helping solve the problem. But seeing a satisfied client brings joy to me. Just their happiness that now that road's open, or they're no longer in trouble with the state agency or whatever it may be.
All right, Robert, and then we'll come to Jim.
First of all, you need to recognize the fact, and I'm going to pile on to what you just heard with these two guys, that, being an engineer, you're going to wake up every day and know that when you go to work, what you're going to do is going to make the world a better place, and that's a pretty cool thing. You're in the best job you can possibly get. But with that foundation, what motivated me was just doing it in a different, better way constantly. So if you're in front of a client and you're externally facing, it's like, how can I solve this problem and be better and do it differently than it's ever been done before? And it was always motivated to just be something innovative that's different.
Indeed. James?
You know, I think for me personally, it's the relationships that motivate me throughout my career. Professional relationships, personal relationships, business, you name it. Knowing a lot of people, getting to have a professional relationship, a reputation is huge. You know, if there's, I guess, a goal outside your technical goals, it would have to be for your reputation. And I think what promotes your reputation are relationships, and for me, that's always been the biggest motivator, hands down. It's wonderful to be able to walk into a meeting, walk into a room, walk into a situation, and have those relationships, those friendships, the knowledge of other people. And that, to me, is the real basis of performance and a career.
All right. Okay. Carol?
Okay. I know I'm motivated by producing the best possible product I can produce. I know that. But if I'm going to be honest with you guys, probably the one thing that motivates me beyond that is, as a structural engineer, the fears of failure. And maybe not my failure, but also a structural failure that could harm somebody. And I say that with almost hesitation because I know structural engineers who have left the profession because they couldn't handle that fear of failure. But you might also have that. I imagine a lot of engineers do, but don't be afraid of it. Use it to drive you forward and to produce a better product.
Interesting. So the fear that the tall building that you design someday
Could harm someone.
could kill someone. You know, I often tell people about civil engineers, I say, if we screw up something, people may die. As a matter of fact, this isn't rise to that level, but every morning when you get up, you flip a handle on the toilet, and you should thank a civil engineer, right? There you go. That keeps things in perspective. All right, next question. Right here, yes ma'am, go ahead.
I'm Maurice Monopoulos, I'm on Team 4. I completely agree that confidence is something that's extremely important when you're trying to enter the field, but I do think it is still kind of difficult to get over that initial hump of self-doubt when you're leaving college and trying to join a major firm. So what would you say is something that kind of helps in that adjustment period?
That's a good question.
Go ahead, Jim.
That's a great question. You know, I believe that you can build confidence by each and every little small task. And to be honest, you come out of here and you know the business, you can prove to everyone in your company, in the world, anybody you meet, that you know your business. And by taking those small steps each and every day, and realizing what you've been able to accomplish and what you haven't, and making those adjustments, that to me is just every step, every day to build that confidence. Don't ever lose it. You can doubt yourself, but that just makes yourself stronger. But please realize what you're gifted here and understand that you're on your way, and have that confidence that as you continue to grow, there's nothing you can't do.
Nothing you can't do. I love it. I love it. Don't let fear overcome you. And I love those words. Next, yes,
I'll add a
Mark.
little bit to that too. I think one of the things too is you're always going to be working as part of a team, and so there's a review. There's someone who does the calcs. There's a checker and a reviewer. There's always going to be multiple people, especially early in your career, following along behind you to give you the feedback, to teach. The learning never stops. You don't finish learning when you get your degree. You just now have the kind of base set of skills that you need to go out and continue learning for the rest of your life. But there'll always be, certainly multiple people looking over your shoulder, and then someday you'll be the person looking over somebody's shoulder, helping to mentor and teach them.
Okay, very good. Yes, sir. Heaven.
My name's Isaac. I'm from Team 8 here, and it was mentioned that hiring is one of the hardest things to work through, and even from your position, I bet even more so. And what have been some of your biggest lessons that have helped you through the ever problemness of trying to hire people?
So, are you interested in when they go to hire someone, kind of what they're looking for, what kind of questions they might ask? Is that where
Yeah,
you're
or
going?
even how to acquire good talent that you can trust even.
Hire
Okay.
Purdue grads. No, I think it's trying to go out and have conversations like this with whether it's students or whether it's in our professional networks that are external. I think a couple of folks have mentioned how important it is to have not only a network inside of your company, but a network externally as well too, because at some point in your career, you will most likely be hired, you'll be tasked with recruiting. We try to encourage all of our employees to be recruiters. We don't just post a job and want our HR department to fill it. We want our staff to go out, and if it's an entry-level position, we ask somebody that we just hired the last year and say, hey, do you know anybody that was a senior now at Purdue that might want a job here? And we're asking our folks to be active and be recruiters. So it's engaging as much of the company we can in the hiring process, and then asking individuals to, maintain an external network to, and then try to create a culture within the company that resonates with people. I mean, at the end of the day, you're spending a huge chunk of your life with these people on teams completing projects. And so it's finding this cultural fit between people. And, culture can attract people, it'll also spit people out. But it's finding people that are kind of in alignment with what your particular company is doing and the size it is and what it stands for. And, you can work for a small 2 or 3 person firm, you can work for a 5 or 10,000 person firm, we're a 500 person firm. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways you can go, and it's just, you finding what you think fits with you. Having internships as well too, I think, as you go through helps you be better able to maybe understand what kind of a job it is you're looking for, and I think that helps as well too. So it's a lot of different things.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Kind of turned the tables on us,
Yeah.
and I like that because it is something we struggle with, and it changes. It's a trial and error process. We do try to find people that we think will fit in our firm, but it's a 5-minute conversation. It's very tricky from our perspective. We try to look for people who want to come. That's really what we're looking for. Do you want to come and work? Do you like the type of work that we're doing? Is this what you want to do? And that's probably the number one thing that we look for. We try to test, honestly. Sometimes that goes over well, and sometimes it doesn't. But we don't even care if the person gets the answer right. In fact, we don't even want them to get the answer right. We don't even care about that. We just want to see how the wheels are spinning in their head.
So you're looking for passion, maybe?
We're looking for passion and thinkers.
Thinkers.
The only thing I would add on to that would be, you're going to get the critical thinking and the engineering skills to be just great at your craft. We look pretty hard at communication skills, and that's really important. And you're working as a team right now, so that's going to help you and how you communicate as a team. But those that can communicate well eventually become those senior project managers and engaging with the client and then running divisions. And there you can just watch people that communicate and have those skills ascend in the company pretty rapidly. So if you're going to interview, you might focus on and coming across as really strong communication skills. At least if you're coming to Gannett.
Communication skills, very, very critical. That's for sure. Amen. And we try to foster that with our dual engineering presentations, with your PowerPoints, and then your written skills as well. What kind of scares me is this hard AI system where you put in some keywords and it types up the whole paper for you. I'm worrying about that. Okay, we got time for one more question. Right here, go ahead, sir.
Hello, my name is Jonas Allinger. I'm from Team 11. And I realize the 5 of you standing up there are from different companies, and each of you has a unique culture with your company. What are some ways that you've contributed to a positive company culture? And what are some ways that us as entry-level engineers can contribute to a positive culture?
Positive company culture. Yes, that's,
I'll go with that. We have offices across the U.S. and each office does this a little different, but we have resource groups that we've started that are, it may be the diversity group, it may be an Activate group, an Activate may be getting out and they do a 5K, or they may be cleaning up a river cleanup or something like that. But as a incoming individual in our company, when I was leading our Indianapolis office, if someone said, hey, I want us to go and work for Habitat, and I'd just say, as long as you lead it, we'll support it, we'll sponsor it. So I would say volunteer your time, volunteer to be a leader, to help, to support an activity, creates that culture that people want to be a part of. Not everyone wants to go and clean up the river. Not everyone wants to go run the 5K or whatever it may be. But we're doing enough events or have enough things going on that you're going to find an opportunity for everyone to fit in, to find an opportunity that they want to be a part of. And so I would just say, raise your hand and say, how can I get engaged? Find something that you want to do.
And that's what'll give you that exposure to more people within the organization as well.
yeah. And Jim, you want to?
Yeah, I was going to say, for us, the culture of basically being on the same team, we really, really put an emphasis on helping each other. Everybody's there to basically lift the bar. Everybody's there to learn from each other, no matter what age you are. And I think for us on the culture side, it's really inclusionary of everybody and helping everyone. And we have, multiple formal training programs, outside speakers, lunch and learns. We had one this week on just public outreach. It's just giving everyone as wide a variety of exposure and training in things that you may not even think about having to do now, but you will later. So we really focus on variety.
There was one hand way in the back that I didn't get a chance to. Did you want to ask a question? Okay, very good. Well, I can tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. We have learned some things from you this morning, I think. We certainly appreciate your being here and interacting with us now. At 10:30, remember, you have permission to separate from your team and come down to the Wood Commons and interact with these folks one-on-one. So please consider doing that. You're certainly welcome to do so. Let's give them a round of applause.